Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT post-show rewind for September the 17th, 2024. I am Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, here with Little Molly Holly, the long-haired Chihuahua, and I will be flying solo this evening, guys, so I do apologize in advance if I am rambling and you get tired of the sound of my voice. But hey, we're here to break down NXT and have a little bit of fun while we do it. But before we can get into tonight's proceedings and discuss all of the amazing things that happened on tonight's show, I have to give that ever so important shout out to our partner on the interwebs, comicbookclick.com. That is comicbookclick.com/dirtsheetradio for all of your pop culture, comic book, professional wrestling, entertainment needs, everything all in one place. Go there, check it out, make it your homepage, look at it multiple times a day, just like I do, not because I'm legally obligated to do so, but because I love to do it. And while you're there, be sure to take advantage of our newest sponsor, NordVPN, where if you sign up for a full year's of service, you can get 72% off that first month. The savings are absolutely wild. Check it out. Sign up. Never let them know where you're coming from on the internet. But hey, guys, as much as I love talking about savings and coupon codes and deals, I don't think that's why you're tuning in here live tonight. You're here to talk about NXT. And what a show we had, guys. We are hitting a hard line of hype right now as we head towards not just Halloween Havoc, but also the CW premiere for NXT as they jump channels here coming up on October 1st. Now, the main event of that night is going to be Trick Williams and your NXT champion, All Ego Ethan Page, for the NXT championship. And tonight's main event segment saw a contract signing between the two of them that, we'll get into it a little bit as I talk about the beginning of the show. They tried it at the top of the show. Things went a little bit awry, so they had to try to do this again tonight at the end. But overseeing the contract signing was Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I only know that because they told me. I don't watch legitimate sports, so I really didn't know who the guy was. But hey, he was wearing a Shawn Michaels shirt, so okay in my book, you know. But he comes out to oversee the contract signing and brings out Trick Williams. I will say it's interesting that Tyrese was booed quite a bit here by the Florida crowd. He ended up taking a little swing at the Orlando Magic. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't really understand it, why they were really that upset with him. He's just he's a basketball player. He's there to, oversee a contract signing and, try to help out some ratings on NXT, I guess. But anyway, the contract signing went a lot smoother this time around. The contract was actually signed. And, after that, Halliburton brought back out CM Punk for his second appearance here this evening. And CM Punk was able to make the announcement that he was unable to make earlier in the evening. And that announcement was that the main event of the October 1st, the CW premiere of NXT, that main event match between All Ego Ethan Page and Trick Williams for the NXT Championship will be officiated by none other than the Straightedge Superstar himself, CM Punk. And he said since he's in charge of that fight, y'all can go ahead and start now. And a brawl ensued between the two men, and they were pulled apart as NXT went off the air. Punk looks really pleased with himself right there. A man that looks like he enjoys the incitement of violence. He looks very happy with himself there. But
he looks like a kid in the middle of the divorce who just realized he's going to get a second Christmas.
That's actually what the CM stands for. It's Christmas Magic Punk. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's the reality of the situation. Hey, Randy, what's up, man? But I thought this was a pretty solid ending to tonight's program. I did see some folks on the online guessing that Punk would announced that he was going to be the special ref for that match, and that's what it ended up being. And so it'll put a little more oomph onto that main event, and the Chicago crowd's already going to be hype, and Punk's going to be there, so it's drawing more people in. Tickets are a lot better for the Chicago show than they were for the St. Louis show, which is being moved. We'll talk about that a little bit later, as well as a match that we know that's going to be on that St. Louis episode of NXT. But yeah, so great closing segment for the show. Really good hype. I like the in-ring kind of I don't say charisma, the in-ring personality clash between All Ego, Ethan Page, and Trick Williams. I think it works well. I don't really know how I feel about their title match in terms of who's going to come out with the strap on that one. Give it maybe another week's thought and come down with an official prediction on that. But regardless, I think it's going to be a solid main event, and we'll see how much CM Punk's involvement plays into the outcome there. But folks, from there, I'm going to hop around to the beginning of tonight's program. Tonight's episode of NXT came to us live from the WWE Performance Center, as it often does, and will again next week, but not the week after or the week after that. So keep that in mind as they head on the road here shortly. But they had a quick recap of last week's episode of NXT, and then the show officially opened with Ava in the middle of the ring, a table in front of her and a few chairs, as she was set to attempt the contract signing between Trick Williams and All Ego Ethan Page. And as said, this didn't quite go as well as she planned. Now, before she brought the gentleman out for that signing that went awry, she did make a couple of quick announcements. She stated that in St. Louis, the second on the road show, we will have none other than Sexy Red making her return to NXT on network television. Things were a little racy on USA, and especially some of her tweets regarding the show after. But hey, she'll be back, and she's going to be on regular network television. So see how that goes for the good folks and the censors over at the C-Dub. And she also said that Randy Orton will not just be appearing at the St. Louis show, which was having poor ticket sales, he will now be competing in a match at the St. Louis NXT show. So hopefully that'll draw more folks in. And they didn't announce it then, but later tonight we'll find out who his opponent is going to be at that show. She also reminded everyone that at the Chicago episode, we will have a special Ms. TV. And that after that, she introduced the challenger for the NXT Championship, Trick Williams. Trick came out, took a couple swings at Pete Dunne, said that he's still a butch. And he was out there not too long before he was interrupted by All Ego Ethan Page. The conversation between the two broke down pretty quickly into a physical confrontation that ended when All Ego put Trick Williams through a table with a Ego's Edge. I was a little surprised. I mean, not that someone went through a table to contract signing. Obviously, I wasn't surprised about that. It's professional wrestling, for God's sake. That's kind of the norm here. I'm shocked if someone doesn't go through a table, honestly. But no one had signed the contract at that point, which they did bring up, and they made good on later in the night. But I actually liked this segment a lot. I say this almost every week, but Ethan Page is just such a natural, just swarmy heel champion. He carries himself like a champion. He speaks like a champion, and he puts down really good promo work. And with Trick is improving all the time. I feel on the mic, we've talked on this program a bit about how, maybe Trick got pushed a little too hard, too fast, and that, Mello was a large portion of why he worked. I think that he's really, really getting his legs under him now and starting to get back up to that level that we all perceived him as being at. But great opening segment there. And from the opening segment, Vic Joseph threw to a video segment that kind of gave a recap on Tony D'Angelo paying Hammerstone to take on Obafemi last week. Obafemi obviously beat the TNA wrestler Hammerstone. And this led to the Dawn approaching Hammerstone. I think they said this took place last week after that match. And he wasn't very happy that Hammerstone lost, was reiterating. He's like, I paid you a good sum of money here to take out Obafemi, and you couldn't do it. And Hammerstone telling him, you know what, Don, you can do it yourself. And, D'Angelo said, he was upset because no one says no to him. You know what, maybe I'll take care of Hammerstone instead. And that was setting up for a match between Hammerstone and Tony D a little later this evening. Coming back from the commercial break, we had Stevie Turner and Robert Stone walking behind Ava, who was just kind of speaking aloud about what's going on with NXT over the next coming weeks. And she was approached by Javon Evans with Cedric Alexander behind him, who wanted to shoot his shot and try to get a spot on one of those big episodes of NXT, and that's coming up. He said that card's filling up real quick, and that's what I'm trying to get on there if I can. She said that she'll mull it over and see if he can get on one of those shows. All right, and we had our first match of the evening. Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley taking on TNA Knockout Rosemary and her very spooky friend Wendy Choo. I thought this was a great tag team match, good action throughout. When it was all said and done, Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley, or Team Tyra, as Tatum likes to call them, they pick up the win here in 9 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm just happy that Tatum Paxley has her body back. It's nice to see her actually have friends, and it just brings a smile to my spooky little heart. So great match though, and it's always nice to see Lyra actually get booked and treated the way Lyra should be booked and treated. She hasn't really gotten the as fair a treatment as I feel she should be getting up on the main roster, but I guess that does come down to a little bit of opinion. But her push hasn't been what it should be up there. But it's nice to see her back on NXT television, getting the reaction and the response and the treatment that she should. And hey, this is good for Tatum too. The association's good, and getting another win's good. Tatum Paxley continues to move her way up that NXT ladder, and I look forward to seeing what she does in the coming time on NXT, as well as when she makes it up to the main roster eventually. Love her gimmick. She owns her gimmick. I want to see her and Wendy Choo and Rosemary maybe all be buddies, but hey, I'm just as happy with her and Lyra teaming up again here. But fantastic match. Good opening bout. Set the tone for the evening. This is one of the longer matches this evening, 9 minutes, 23 seconds. Not a lot went over that 8-minute mark tonight. Most things were under 3, which is a little unusual for an episode of NXT, but they were jamming a lot of exposition into tonight's program as well. So from there, we had Trick Williams getting checked up in the trainer's room after taking that Ego's Edge through the table, and he said that he was going to be ready for Ethan Page no matter what. Back out at the ring, Hammerstone taking on Tony D'Angelo one-on-one. Tony D, of course, out there with Stacks Lorenzo, Luca Crucifino, and Adriana Rizzo. This match only went 2 minutes and 54 seconds before the dawn of NXT, looking despondent and upset, just walked away from the match, left. Much to the dismay and confusion of the family, the Dawn just walks to the back and takes a count-out loss to TNA's Hammerstone. Not what I expected here.
What if I said, I understand?
The feeling?
No, just walking away from Alexander Hammerstone after 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That is fair. In that same vein, I wouldn't even want to be in the ring with the guy. And honest to God, I wouldn't want to be in there with Obafemi either. So I understand the trepidation. But yeah, something was not right with the Don here tonight. He was, like I said, just seemed just maybe out of his head, too in his head. Something's going on. Mamma mia. And we'll find out a little bit later what was with the Don and why he just kind of gave up and walked out. Now, before we could really move on too far from that segment, Zachary Wentz charged in off camera, scaring the bejesus out of Vic Joseph, because poor Vic Joseph just gets accosted at ringside every couple of weeks, it seems. But Zachary Wentz was not there to go after Vic Joseph. He was there to reveal what happened to Trey Miguel and what took him out of that match last week, and that was none other than Wes Lee, who apparently drove to Ohio, my home state, mind you, drove to Ohio just to attack Trey Miguel. You know, I'm going to kind of hold myself personally responsible for this as a resident of this state. I should have been there, and I wasn't, and I'm sorry, Trey, and I hope that you can forgive me, and I hope you recover quickly and make your way back to the ring. But yeah, another really good promo from Zachary Wentz ahead of the street fight that he and Wes will be having on the October 1st episode of NXT. That show is practically a PLE at this point, so it's going to be a hell of a program. But yeah, as I just said, great promo work from Zach Wentz. I'm super excited for that match. I think it's going to be an absolute barn burner. Definitely has potential to be match of the night. You got two show stealers like that in there, and you'll expect some magic. But yeah, really looking forward to that one. And it was nice to see someone run into kind of promo that way. And again, not attack Vic Joseph. So good for Vic dodging that. All right. Yeah, exactly. It's and there's a little bit of irony of them doing a kind of pseudo Rocky angle, and they actually had some lines of dialogue from Rocky in a promo that was cut later that night backstage. Kind of funny that they decided to do a little bit of a Rocky angle with CM Punk there backstage tonight. I'm not Tony. I'm just very nice and very polite, but I'm not actually Canadian. So I'm very polite, but without the free healthcare. Back in the backstage area, we had a quick interaction with NXT GM Ava and Indiana Pacer Tyrese Halliburton. Again, he wasn't getting a very pleasurable response from the audience in the PC tonight. But hey, like I said, I don't really understand these real sports issues that people have. But ahead of our next match, back from the break, we had Sarah Schreiber chatting with the Fatal Influence, or Fatal Influence, the Fatal Influence. I think it's just Fatal Influence. Anyway, chatting with Fatal Influence, and Jacy Jayne cut a promo on Lola Vice, just ahead of their match that will take place later that evening. From there, we had Lola Vice kind of warming up in the locker room, as she was talking about how, she didn't need Jada Parker's help, didn't want Jada Parker's help. And of course, Jada's in the background, and Jada wasn't very happy that Lola had her name in her mouth. And, they kind of reiterated here that they've got a common goal here. That they've got a common goal. I wish baby faces could get along a little bit more than they do. And I know that, Lola and Jada both kind of walk that, kind of shades of gray line between face and heel, but they're baby faces. And come on, just get along. Just get along. Your faces, you're allowed to have friends. This is why faces get their asses kicked by heel factions left and right. The numbers game catches up to them because they're all too dumb to have friends and, meet the numbers. I don't understand it. The dumb baby face trope. It happens a lot, guys. But from there, back out to ringside, we had our next scheduled match on the card. DJ Eddy Thorpe taking on Ashante the Adonis one-on-one. Ashante unable to grasp the concept of platonic relationships with women, and that is the crux and premise of why these two are having conflict. Adante tried his best, handing a rose to a woman in the front row there. Not sure if that was a legitimate audience member or a plant, but nonetheless, she got a rose tonight. Ashante didn't come out on top here. Eddy Thorpe made very quick work of the not so Adonis in 3 minutes and 28 seconds, picking up the win. This was a much needed win for Eddy Thorpe on NXT proper, as he kind of lost his last feud there with Lexis King. So he needed this win, and it was a good, solid, clean win for him. And loss isn't going to hurt Adonis. He's a swarmy asshole heel, and I know, CJ, you're not here tonight, but I'm sure you're glad he lost, even though you do dislike the gimmick so much. But I'll shout out to CJ. Missing you, buddy. Missing you tonight. But after the Eddy Thorpe match, we got a quick plug of CM Punk, who would be coming up next on NXT television. But back from the break, a little bit of a false plug there. before the CM Punk segment, we had a video package with Riley Osborne and Thea Hale of Chase U, discussing what's been going on with them, the attacks and damage that Ridge Holland has done to the institution of higher learning at NXT. And, she said that she wanted them to be different. She wanted everyone to look at Chase U as the ones who believed in Ridge Holland, that they were right when everyone else was wrong, but everyone else was right, and Chase U was wrong, and Ridge Holland was the dastardly, awful, horrible human being that he always turns out to be. And next week, Riley Osborne is going to be going after Ridge Holland and trying to exact some revenge for his Chase U compatriots. It's probably not going to go too well for young Riley Osborne. Thea Hale's pretty heartbroken all over all this. And again, I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Ridge Holland's the ultimate heel. He made Thea Hale cry. And I can't really think of many worse things a heel can do than damage the heart of the sweet, innocent, if not, over caffeinated Thea Hale. But I liked this segment. You guys know I'm a Chase U person. And I dug this. I look forward to the match next week. Like I said, I don't think it's going to go too well for Riley Osborne. I imagine Ridge Holland is just going to knock the hell out of him. But I'm enjoying this angle, and I know that eventually Chase U is going to get back in there and strike back against that dastardly, evil, horrible human being that is Ridge Holland. Moving on from there, we had one of the featured segments tonight. A large CM Punk chant broke out as the Straightedge Superstar made his way out to the ring on NXT television. The crowd was super loud, super into it. They were ready for CM Punk to be here tonight. And he came out and said that he was in a much different mood tonight than he was last night. He got all that negativity out last night on Raw. I don't know if I necessarily believe he got all the negativity out, but I got enough of it out last night. He was in a good mood here tonight. He made her cry. It was awful. But he said that he was in a good mood here tonight because he loves being at NXT. He loves watching NXT. He loves the NXT fanatics. I appreciate that he referred to the fans there as the NXT fanatics as opposed to the NXT universe. One, because I don't like even the WWE universe. I think it's just corporate and sounds just kind of lame. But it's NXT. It's a smaller. It's not a universe. It's a planet at most. But I just appreciated his verbiage on that. But he was talking about how as he was recovering from his injury, how he would hang out at the Performance Center and watch the NXT shows live, and how sometimes folks would spot him and they'd write him out online and say Punk's watching live, and it was actually a pretty good segment. This was a little bit different of a CM Punk. He was, seemed like a normal, nice dude here. He actually genuinely does seem like he enjoys spending time at the Performance Center and working with, tomorrow's superstars. So it was pretty, nice to see him smile and happy. I like happy wrestlers. And during his promo segment here, before he was interrupted, I will get to that. I just want to point out that he name dropped a number of wrestlers, some currently on NXT, some formerly on NXT, now on the main roster. But he mentioned by name Lexis King and his beard. Okay, so we had that. Carmelo Hayes, Ethan Page, Braun Breaker, and Javon Evans. He also stated that he has t-shirts that are older than Javon Evans, which I think Javon's like 20. And if that's the case, I also think I have a couple shirts still in the old wardrobe that would be a little bit older than him. But that's getting older, guys. That now wrestlers are so much younger than me. But I just thought, again, interesting that he mentioned Lexis King, Carmelo Hayes, Ethan Page, Braun Breaker, and Javon Evans. Just, worth noting the names that he chose to mention there. Now, before he could get to the announcement that he was there to make, he was interrupted by none other than the NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. And Roxy came out, and, for those of you that know Roxy's she's a Punk fan, longtime Punk fan. And she came out and said as much. She said that, she was a big fan of CM Punk. She looked up to him. She, followed in his footsteps, struck out on her own. But, she was always preferred his wife to him. that got a bit of a pop from the crowd, a little AJ chant there. And as she continued to lavish some praise on Punk, she, of course, turned it as a heel will and said that, after everything she's seen Punk do and everything he's said and done, she's realized that all along she should have been a Drew McIntyre fan. And woo, that got quite the negative response from the crowd, as designed to be. Good job, Roxanne Perez, by the way, still getting that boo from the audience. I've said this before, but when you're a heel and you might get a pop saying something, maybe you're telling the truth out there, talking about being a fan of Punk or something, and you're going to get that positive response. It's so vital and so important that you turn that crowd back against you as quickly as you can. You should not be getting cheered because you're a heel. And bravo, Roxy! We said this before on the show, but she's really done well in this heel role. It was a bumpy start for her, but she has really owned it. Now, I'm not sure what I prefer as in terms of heel or face. But as she was starting to run down CM Punk, he cut her off and stated that, really nothing of what she's saying is going to matter after Julia beats her ass down in Chicago. And of course, it's professional wrestling. Her name is mentioned, and Julia makes her way to the ring, and she looks Roxy dead in the face and says, "You have 2 weeks." Drops the mic, turns to leave. Roxy goes to take a cheap shot on Julia, and she is blocked by CM Punk, who stops the cheap shot from occurring. Great segment. Great segment. This, I think, you talk about bringing main event wrestlers to NXT for any reason. Putting more steam on the show, getting more eyes on the product, a ratings bump, whatever. This was a great use of CM Punk. I thought that he came across as, genuine and likable, which is me saying quite a bit. I've had my issues with Punk over the years, but I liked him here. I liked him in this role. Almost like, old man Punk, just, genuine and kind and wanting to help out the youth. But thought he did good here. And obviously we did not get the announcement of him being the special guest referee for the main event. That was going to be happening later tonight. And the internet was a little pissy about that. Oh, you bring him out to make an announcement. He doesn't make an announcement. Cheap ratings grab. Ah! It's called pacing a show. Subversion of, expectation. It's Shawn Michaels knows what he's doing. So calm down, Twitter. Calm down. But yeah, like I said, absolutely love the segment. Thought it was great. But from there,
can I start something really fast? I'll leave it with you. What do you think about them putting CM Punk with the Ethan Page Trick Williams match rather than the Julia Roxanne match? Do you feel like it's because the Ethan Page Trick Williams match needed it more?
Yep, without question. Because it absolutely is worth mentioning that when I stated earlier that folks were saying that Punk was probably going to be a guest referee on the show, it was originally theorized that it would probably be for Julia and Roxy. Yeah. But yeah, John, I absolutely think it's because Ethan Page and Trick Williams need that for the main event, especially if they're going to have that be the main event of the show. Punk needs to be the guest referee. Otherwise, the main event kind of has to be Roxy and Julia. To me, that's the bigger match. I think it's the match that has a lot more hype and expectation for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually think it should be the main event, but also I worry because they're going to have such a hard out on CW. Maybe you should give it to Trick Williams and Ethan Page because who cares if they lose a couple minutes?
Yeah, that is a fair point. That is in all likelihood the reason. Hey, could be wrong in estimation, but I agree with John there. That's what it feels like anyway, and it does need it. Like I said, it's going to be a solid match. It's going to be a good WWE main event style match, but it doesn't really feel like it should be the main event of that show. But we'll see. Hey, we could be wrong. But with Punk being the guest ref in that, I feel like now it has to be the main event. But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell. We say that a lot here, but it's we take the hits as they come with pro wrestling, guys. But back to the backstage area. Backstage interviewer Sarah Schreiber was speaking to Kalani Jordan about Fatal Influence. And she said that she wants to defend her championship against women who excel in the ring, not just at hurling insults around. And Ren Sinclair ran over to her excitedly as, thanks, Mac. I appreciate that, man. But Ren Sinclair ran into the scene excitedly and said that, Charlie, Charles Dempsey, he told me I need to make my own opportunities here. So here I am to do it. And bam! 5 across the face for Kalani Jordan from Ren Sinclair. And then she ran. She ran fast and ran hard. I think she's still running, actually. I don't think she has stopped. She has surpassed the state line of Florida and is somewhere in Georgia now. She's still running. She'll be back next week when she wrestles Kalani Jordan. But, Kalani was happy with the slap. But, hey, it worked. You're getting a title match. I mean, sometimes I guess that's all it takes. Piss off the face, and you'll get a shot at some gold. But we'll see how that match goes for the No Quarter Catch Cruise Ren Sinclair next week. Changing from the backstage interview area to the locker room, the family was trying to hype Tony D'Angelo back up, who again was clearly distraught, clearly upset. Either out of his head, too in his head, something was going on with Tony D. And they just kept pressing him. What's wrong, Tony? What's going on, Tony? And he just kept pushing him away. No, and then finally, he said the truth. He's afraid. He's afraid of Obafemi. He's not human. He's a monster. And he's afraid. Nobody can beat him. There's a lot of emotion and feeling from Tony D. I liked his little character arc they did with him tonight, with the self-doubt and the fear that he admitted to having for Obafemi. Yeah, I get it. For God's sakes, it's frightening. I don't want to fight Obafemi. I mean, also I'm a professional wrestler, but I wouldn't want to get in there with the guy. Yeah, be afraid. It's logical to be afraid. Dude's scary. But moving on to the next match on the card, we had the No Quarter Catch Cruise Tavion Height and Myles Borne taking on the very bouncy Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander in some tag team action. Tavion and Myles got a very truncated version of their entrance, and Javon and Cedric did not get an entrance at all. I was wondering if the Punk segment maybe went a couple minutes longer than it was scheduled to, and if they had to cut a little time there. That's the best I can figure, especially considering how the match ended. Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander get the win in just a little bit over 10 minutes here. Great match, as you'd expect it to be. I didn't really expect Javon and Cedric to get the win, as they didn't have an entrance, which is why I'm thinking the entrance got cut due to time. Or again, subversion of expectation, let the team win. They didn't get the entrance. But the match was fantastic fun. Good action all the way throughout. Great pacing, high-flying spots. Pretty much what you would expect, a match with these four guys to be. The finish kind of came down as Kalani Jordan ran down the ringside to chase off Ren Sinclair. Again, still running. And that was a bit of a distraction for Myles, and that left him open to get with a lumbar check from Alexander, and then Evans tagged in and hit. I'm not really sure what that finisher is even called, but it's a lot of flips and twisting, and I don't know how he does it other than maybe he's got some sort of mutant ability that allows him to just, go against the laws of gravity and nature. But again, Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander get the win there in 10 minutes and 27 seconds. I believe that was the longest match tonight. Like I said, it was just that and the other tag match tonight that went a little bit over 9, but otherwise shorter fights tonight for NXT. After the match, we had a tweet from Randy Orton. that said that Javon Evans is going to find out who his opponent will be on October 8th in St. Louis. And they played a little bit with this, and they made the official announcement later this evening. I'll go ahead and talk about it now. Why not? On the October 8th episode of NXT in St. Louis, the young OG, Javon Evans, is going to be wrestling Randy Orton one-on-one in an NXT ring. All right. Trying to sell. I mean, tickets, obviously. We've talked about this a little bit. We talked about it last week, and CJ and I talked about it a bit over the weekend on Level Up Adventure. Yeah, the sales weren't going great for the October 8th episode of NXT, so they're moving the venue, and also actually putting Randy in a match against Javon Evans. That's going to be great. I mean, my God, Javon Evans is going to be zipping around that ring and selling his ass off for Randall Keith Orton. But looking forward to that. And that's big. I mean, not just to have a Randy Orton appearance, but now a Randy Orton match on NXT television. But it's huge for Javon Evans. You know, getting in there and getting to have a match with, first ballot Hall of Famer, a legend in his own right, and the legend killer, Randy Orton. It's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it. All right. So from there in the backstage area, we had Rich Holland walking through, and he was being spoken to by an unseen interviewer. And he shouted back at Riley Osborne and said that he was going to, take him down, and he'd see him next week. Dastardly, awful, evil, vile human being that is Rich Holland. The transition from Ridge walking went to Brooks Jensen, making his way through the back, heading out towards the ring for his match. And he passed by Shawn Spears sitting back there. Shawn told him, good luck out there. And Jensen looked at him and said, are we really going to do this? And he stated that he wanted him out there with him tonight for the match. So Brooks must not feel that he's being gaslit if he's still willingly having Shawn Spears by his side. And that is going to take us into our next match. This evening, we had Brooks Jensen with Shawn Spears with him at ringside, taking on Dion Lennox. Brooks Jensen got a pretty quick win here in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So the tutelage of Shawn Spears is paying dividends for Brooks Jensen as he is starting to get some wins under his belt. Solid work here. Harmless loss for Dion Lennox. I like Dion Lennox a lot. I would love to see Dion Lennox start to get some wins, but right now I'll take him getting appearances on NXT proper, even if they're losses, and hopefully he can start to rack up some wins over on Level Up, which if he does, you guys are going to hear about that on Sundays from me and CJ. But quick, solid match. Really, the story here was Brooks Jensen getting wins with his teacher at his side, Shawn Spears. I like this. I like this character work that Brooks Jensen's doing. It's fitting for him. He's good at this character. I was surprised when it started to really catch for him this well. And I'm even more surprised that I'm enjoying what Shawn Spears is doing here. It's shocking to me that I like an angle that Shawn Spears is involved in. I've never really been a Shawn Spears guy, but I think this is a good fit for him. This angle and kind of character shift for him as this, I don't want to say cult leader, but teacher. The information bush, as I like to call it, not the learning tree, the information bush with Shawn Spears. All right. Let's see. All right. So via the socials, I think it was an Instagram post. It's not really important if it was Instagram or the Twitter. I think it's high praise. I don't think he's being punished for anything. And besides, I feel like if you were going to put somebody in there to get stretched, it wouldn't be with Randy Orton. You'd find someone else to do that work. But via a social media post, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, A-Town Down Under, challenged Fraxium to a NXT tag title match on the October 8th episode. And and also next week we will have a Grayson Waller effect on NXT television, also hyping that October 8th match between A-Town Down Under and Fraxium. And it's Fraxium officially, y'all. I've been calling him Fraxium for quite some time. And I just want to point out that I was, wonderfully ahead of the game. So take that, Triple H. I'm ahead of you. Puns, y'all. Puns. So A-Town Down Under is going to be taking on Fraxium for the NXT Tag Team Championship on that October 8th show. Again, they're trying to pump some big matches onto that to boost those ticket sales. Because, for the most part, the October 1st show is pretty set and had good sales. And, it is what it is, guys. But, we'll see what this means for NXT going on the road more in the future, too. It's possible they just went with too large of a venue in St. Louis. Maybe St. Louis isn't the wrestling town they expect it to be. Chicago is a bigger wrestling town. And, I no disrespect to Randy Orton, but I would imagine that CM Punk in Chicago appearing on paper is probably a bigger draw than Randy Orton appearing in St. Louis. I don't know. It's all a matter of opinion, I guess. But from there, we will have the last match we had on this evening's card. Lola Vice taking on Fatal Influence's Jacy Jayne. And of course, Jacy had with her Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix. Lola Vice picks up a quick definitive win in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Victory was short-lived, though, because again, babyface out there alone against a heel faction with a total of 3 members. So, of course, she gets the shit knocked out of her by Fatal Influence for a bit after the match takes place until the save is made by Jada Parker. And they kind of have a bit of a stare down, had to be held apart. So clearly there's, friction between them, but I'm sure we're going to get that, strange bedfellows tag team match with Lola and Jada taking on the Fatal Influence in the near future. But solid work from both women here, both improving. Jacy Jayne is one that, I feel like she, as an in-ring talent, has probably outgrown NXT, but she continues to put in really solid work, and I think it's helpful for the up-and-coming women wrestlers to have her there to work with. She's a great hand in the ring, and Lola is just coming along wonderfully. We talk about the talent in NXT in general a lot, but good Lord, the crop of women's talent in NXT is just, I feel the best in the world. I have people argue with me on that a lot, but I think it's the best. But, again, it's all opinion, guys. It's all opinion. But after that match and the beatdown and the save, we had our last segment with the family. Really, it was just Tony D and Adriana Rizzo. And Rizzo was trying to be a little softer with Tony D here. And she was able to get him a little back on track. She told him, I understand you're afraid. It's Obafemi. I get that you're afraid, but she told him that the family believes in it. And even if he's got nothing left, he's always got the family. And, they believe in him and they all think he can do it, but he has to believe he can do it. And he said, well, what if I lose? And she said, well, then you lose. But you did it through fear. And he said he does want another shot at Obafemi. And she said, and we start training. Bring it in. And they hugged, and he's going to get on that rocky path to, probably not winning. I want to remind y'all that for those of y'all that have not watched the Rocky films, spoiler for, a going on 40-year-old movie, Rocky doesn't win in that first movie. Yeah. Spoiler alert for men who have not seen the Rocky franchise. But yeah, he doesn't win. So while I'm looking forward to this, this story run for Tony D, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that they will make it reasonably believable that he could beat Obafemi. He's not going to beat Obafemi. but it's going to be a good story, and it should be a good, solid match as well. So looking forward to that when it takes place. And guys, that takes us back up to the main event segment that we covered at the top of the show with Tyrese Halliburton out there to do the contract signing. But yeah, that is tonight's NXT program in a nutshell. And hey, guys, before I get into who I'm choosing as my NXT jobbers and megastars of the night this evening, I do want to thank you, all of you, that have tuned in live and stuck with me solo tonight. I know that it's probably not just me that you're here for. It's also this little sweet pooch here. I know you're really watching for Molly, but I appreciate you guys tuning in live and sticking with me. But also, I have got great news for you. If you enjoy what you're seeing here tonight, this coverage of NXT, this isn't all Dirt Sheet Radio does. It'd be weird if it was, but hey, I'd still do it if it was. Dirt Sheet Radio isn't just here to cover NXT. Professional wrestling is nonstop, and barring extenuating circumstances, because sometimes stuff happens, guys, we're here practically every single night of the week breaking down professional wrestling for you. We are here Monday nights breaking down Monday Night Raw. Obviously, we're here Tuesday nights talking NXT for you. Wednesday nights, you know what that means. It's AEW Dynamite. Thursday nights, our sister program over there, the TNA Impact Rewind. And of course, Fridays are for Friday Night Smack Sound. That's what I'm calling it going forward, Smack Sound. And if you're up really late after the AEW Dynamite recap show, you can check out the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program. It's on super duper late. Check it out. But if you're like me and you got to be up early, just listen to it Thursday morning. It's always posted. It's there waiting for you with your morning coffee on Thursdays, guys. And also on Sundays, I've still got the Level Up graphic in here. We told y'all a rebrand is coming up. CJ and Tyler's Weekend Wrestling Roundup. That is Roundup with a W. Is coming your way. I will have some hot new graphics heading out soon. I'm workshopping some stuff here. But also on Sundays, be sure to check out the 3NT podcast live every single Sunday. Be sure to check the guys out. They're always putting down great programs and the crispest graphic in all of professional wrestling. But guys, well, that's all the plugs except for one. Our wonderful relaxing sponsor, monk.com, for all of your aromatherapy diffuser needs. Go check them out, where you can get 10% off with the promo code DSR10. Save yourself 10% on your aromatherapy products. Go check it out after the program. But y'all, that's going to take us into tonight's NXT Jobber of the Night. My NXT Jobber of the Night is not an NXT wrestler. It's not actually a member of the NXT roster in any capacity. It's Tyrese Halliburton. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's somewhere for booking him on the show. Guys, look, here's my thing. I know that I'm not a fan of legitimate sports, and truthfully, I can't even tell you the last time I watched a pro basketball game. I don't know who the dude is. That's neither here nor there. Not everybody that appears on a wrestling program is tailor-suited for my liking. But the dude got booed every chance that the audience got. Like, they booed him. And then he takes a swing at him. Like, you're a guest here, sir. Read the room. And Trick tried to pull him back on his good side, but they still booed him. And I don't think that was helpful for Trick. Like, I don't think it's obviously going to hurt him in the long run, but you don't want to put Trick out there with somebody that the audience in that building does not like. And it wasn't good for him. It wasn't a good showing. He was fine on the mic. That was whatever. But, like, it was a bad, I think, perception for Trick to be there being booed with a guy who was willingly taking shots at the likes and local sports teams of the Performance Center. But yeah, so he is my jobber of the night there. But that is going to transition us into the megastars of the night, or megastar, I guess. I've only got one this evening. But my NXT megastar of the night I went back and forth on this a little bit, but I settled on the young OG, Javon Evans, not just because he got the win tonight over the No Quarter Catch crew in that tag match, but because he's getting that match with Randy Orton. And this is huge for him. This isn't really, like, he's got eyes on him anyway. You know, he's been in the PLE main event for NXT, but this is the biggest match of his career thus far, without question. There's going to be extra eyes on it. And longtime wrestling fans that know how Randy Orton used to be know that Randy can kind of make or break a career with how he feels about people backstage and how he feels matches go. So huge opportunity for Javon Evans. I'm really looking forward to it. But Javon, my megastar of the night, not just for the win, but again, for being placed into this spot with Randy Orton in the on the October 8th episode of NXT. Y'all, that is the program in not just a nutshell. It's too big for a nutshell, really. That's tonight's program. But guys, appreciate you again as always. Me and Molly. Hey, we appreciate you watching live all night. We thank you so much. We'll be back live tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite. Have a wonderful night, everybody.